There has been, for me, a long process of coming close and moving away out of resistance and coming close and moving away. And at some point we all split up in 1979. We went as far away from each other as we could be. And then we convened slowly again. Okay, let's try this thing. You know, there was a lot of fear in this dare to create something new, yeah? A lot of resistance. And who the fuck are we to challenge the existing culture, right? And then at the same time, this big desire for it, this, let's try something. So I am George Caneda. I am one of the founders of the GANAS experiment. And this goes back to December of '77. It was total serendipity in some ways. I am from Spain, I'm half German. I didn't speak English. And I came upon the invitation of a friend, a Spanish friend, that had lived in the States, and we went to San Francisco. And then I met the core group, really. I met Mildred and Jeffrey, and then the fourth member that was there at the beginning was Susan. And so now here we are, Susan and me, as two of the founding members. We did not set out to start a community. We set out to experiment with a transformation process. We came from, in different ways, a deep sense that the culture we had grown up with, that was very ingrained in our beings, was in the way. We were not happy, and Susan and I especially had been in the protest movement. We had been very active politically. Jeffrey was more conservative and had come to conceive of the possibility of alternatives in his high school years. And Mildred had been in the human development, human growth movement for many, many years. She's 30 years older than the rest of us, more or less. There was a yearning or an intuition of a new place that could be created by transforming ourselves. And this notion of transformation was coming for me from Gandhi, if you want, be the change. You cannot force a change, you cannot create a change, because we are tainted with the elements of the culture we grew up with, so we can transform ourselves. The process is a process of personal transformation and within a community context, so in the relationships. So the basic yearning is for contact. Community is about making contact. The existing culture provides very strong context for alienation. And this is alienation from ourselves, from our bodies. This is alienation from each other. It's in work, in love, in creativity, and this alienation shows up in all sorts of ways, like rivalry, jealousy. It's a pain structure. It's a very complex pain structure. And there were some of us thinking, okay, maybe humans are so pliable. Humans can create so many different cultures. Like you read Margaret Mead, and then there's this sense, and we all have this hope or this yearning for what she describes as the Samoan culture. Or so there are so many ways of being human. you can be an Eskimo and have, I don't know how many, 17 kinds of white, or you can be in New Zealand and be in a completely different spiritual space as an Aborigine, where you know that you're dreaming reality. Anyway, so we thought maybe we can transform ourselves. And in transforming ourselves, we create a new context. And this is not a revolution against anything. This is a revolution for contact, for love, for opening up, for attempting to become what humans can become. This was very naive in many ways. For me, it came out a lot of thinking. You know, I have been I grew up in the last years of the Franco regime. I was born in '54, and I started university in '72 as a very conservative, upper class, conservative, and I radicalized in university. And I went through the whole process, you know. I was a communist and I was an anarchist, and I kept on moving to more open spaces, you know. The Spanish anarchist movement is so beautiful and there's some wonderful stuff in it. But I kept on hitting against, there was not enough love in either of the revolutions. There was something missing, and I didn't click with the way men and women were together. I didn't click with the failure to address a lot of the rivalries and the infighting, and, you know, coming to see how the revolution eats its own children, you know, in so many different ways. And how then I read Theodor Adorno, and I read Gandhi, and I read Wilhelm Reich, and I started to feel like we are hitting against our own limitations constantly. We don't really know how to create these new spaces, these new places. We are creating, all the time we're creating the old places. In the Russian Revolution, in the French Revolution, in the anarchist revolution in Spain in the 30s, there is this all constantly the same coming. So we open an experimental phase, and we say we don't really know what's going to look like, but we are in an experiment. This is why we didn't think of ourselves as a community. We were an experiment. And we didn't think we could create structures yet. The only thing was experimenting with these connections with each other, understanding how we were embodying this reactive status conditions, you know, you don't talk to me like that, or why are you looking at my preferred female partner like that? What do you want? Or on and on, you know? So learning to come to a place of trust, and a place of, okay, freedom, really. Freedom from all the shackles of pain and difficulty that we have ingrained in this culture, yeah? And we made significant progress. We learned a lot.